What's happening, Dirty South? It's here we are again. We are back at it. What a great week of wrestling. Girls are in full swing.
So, boys,
Boys,
As of what, two
boys
as of
days
have
ago?
Monday,
now
yeah,
begun, and I believe all over the Southeast. We'll hear more about that from, Jason can talk more about that. He's
in the
deeply involved in
southeast.
the Southeast, and then Brant has finally. It looks like he finally took a shower, came up for air,
Oh no, we haven't
ate
showered yet.
breakfast, and he
Grew it out a little bit.
shaved a little bit. He's finally got the previews done, and we are in full swing. So I believe this week we're just going to listen to what he has to say, right?
Yeah, so we got a fully packed show this week. I mean, we are talking about all four classes. I include the girls as a class. It's just, because it's the girls in the three classes. And we got, pretty much 15 minutes of talking about all of them.
Yeah,
And we got tons of information, especially with all of the previews that Brant dropped. Before we get to it, just really quick, I want to go ahead and give a shout out to Georgia. They started competing this past weekend. Alabama starts competing this coming weekend. There's lots of events going on. I will be talking to Lucas later today about kind of what's going on as far as happening as in Georgia and other parts of the Southeast. But
and folks, if
we
you want to
are
know what's going on in Georgia, sign up for Jason's email because
It's
just some
awesome.
perfect wrap up. I actually read what happened in Georgia this past weekend. Man, it was
woohoo,
easy.
that's
It was
good.
easy to digest. It came over in an email.
Yeah. And
Great stuff.
You read it, you
shout
check
out
it
to
off.
Grant and Columbus for giving me this beautiful sweatshirt. It is a little
Yeah, I want to throw it out there, Grant. Brant and I are also wondering about it. I mean, it can't just be about the pictures, man. Come on now.
If anybody wants to give us a wrestling shirt,
yeah. So
I will wear it. I will wear a shirt,
yeah, and listen,
sweatshirt,
for all you guys in the Southeast
singlet.
that are listening, the three of you, please, uh, each week, maybe twice a week, Jason drops like the college results of kids that
Yes.
are out in college. And sometimes it's only D1, sometimes it's a hodgepodge of all of it. Sometimes it's only the girls, sometimes it's only the boys, but and I'm sure there's a parent out there going, well, shit, he missed my kid. Well, yeah, he's not perfect, but he tries to do the best to see
He's not.
everybody out there. And it's a really good read. So to the
Well, and
parent,
the thing that was super cool about it is, I mean, you saw the former Jesuit standouts, came up big for Virginia Tech. You get to like learn about Jackson Smith competing, up for Maryland, and he's a Georgia kid. And yeah, I mean, I'll tell you what, we we're deep, and with the information that we have as far as, you know, SIDs and everything else across the country. That's why it's so much easier to pull from D1, honestly,
yeah.
It is.
than everywhere else because the moment that event ends, they have a write up on the website, and we
And
can pull. I can
results
pull it
and a
and do
box
it.
score
Right.
And
and
it's
sometimes
been it's been
video.
cool. Like I had to follow the Adrian Open this past weekend because I do some work for one of the colleges that are there, North Central to be exact. Where my son is at, so I do some of the stuff for them. And but by doing that, I saw Gabby Tedesco had a big win over a returning national champion. I saw Emma Bachnight won the tournament. I saw Lily
Oh,
Cottrell
is that
came in.
right?
Yeah, I saw Lily Cottrell came in second in her bracket. I saw Callie Alfieri came in. And there was many others that were sprinkled in there. I don't remember exactly every name, but those were the ones. We see Florida girls like Val, who's now jumped into the rankings and she's number two in the country. So
Yeah.
we have a lot of, especially on the girls' side, a lot of Florida girls that are out there now. I think you posted something about the Georgia Open. I saw somewhere out in, I think it was the Milken Open or something like that.
Milliken.
So, yeah, and a lot of that is I have to follow certain things, but I also watch what Jason's doing, and I get to pick up a lot of that stuff. So, as
Yeah.
far
My
as up
biggest
in
fear is
Florida, Branch the guy.
my biggest fear is that I'm gonna miss a kid, and then like and there's so many of them. So anyway, we do not want to take a bunch of time talking about that. We do want to focus on the big event of the week, and that was on Monday. 742 hours, no days, no weeks. I don't know how long it was of work that went into putting together these previews. And I'll tell you what, guys, if you haven't had a chance, I mean, we're creating stuff, we're doing stuff. I've had a chance to read a bit of it, not all of it, but I'll tell you what, Brand, I want you to take a second and just tell me about how much like went into, I mean, just massive amount of work.
Well, it starts in March, um, like the week after the state tournament, when I start populating capsules and information of people coming back, and it finished Monday at 11:55, right before noon, and it included me during breaks at a lacrosse tournament this weekend, working in my car and working at Starbucks, and yeah, it's just and listen, it's amazing. It's so much. It's so much fun to see it done. I can't say it's fun doing it, but just the help I get from coaches across
Yeah, I was gonna say, there's no way you can
state.
get some of that information without help.
Yeah, and I most of them, when I talk to them, I thank them for making me look smarter than I am, because they do. But yeah, I think I'm at like 240 boys coaches and 100 and some girls coaches that have sent me information and told me more about their team. I interviewed 84 coaches, and had a chance to. I don't know if you can hear that. My dog's annoying me. Um, to learn more about their program, more about their team, and it's just I feel it helps me the most because it preps me for the season. But I couldn't do it without all the help from the coaches. Most of them, 99.9% of them, are very welcome to help. They're
And I mean, I gotta
one.
say everything you do. I mean, there's several times during a week that I'm trying to figure something out, and it's like I have you on one of my little tabs on the top row, and I go right to it, and because I can't remember certain things, I'm like, man, where did that kid go? Where did this kid, did this kid win states or was it second? And you just, all that information is deeply embedded into
Yep.
that. And, beyond, guys, a lot of his stuff is free. There's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, this whole
The
thing is
rankings are
it's
behind a paywall, but a lot of
yeah.
his stuff is free. So when you're reaching out trying to think I'm giving you stuff to put behind a paywall, this is all free to the community to grow the sport.
And that's 99.9% of coaches know that. No, and the thing is, it's fluid. I've been updating today and yesterday, and I've gotten 4 coaches who have sent me forms today and apologized. I'm still finding out new coaches. I've got 3 emails I've gotten in the last hour from people saying, "Hey, I'm actually the new coach." I've checked websites, I've emailed ads, but but yeah, it's still fluid. The major social push is starting today, along with the show and social medias, and I hope everybody gets a chance to check it out and sees all the names and breakdowns and gets us ready for the most wonderful time of the year, which is
Yeah.
starting in
And
just a
it's
couple
cool because
weeks.
I see some names, I see some teams you have in your previews that I was like, oh, interesting. Oh, nice. Oh, that team's gotten better. Oh, that team's gotten worse. Oh, yeah, like because
But
you
we don't
Well,
say
and
they've gotten worse. There's no negative. I don't go
well,
as
and I will say, like, I mean, again, the depth, the information you get. Like one of the things when I'm reading it is I like the quotes, and you get the quotes when you get information back from the
yes.
coaches. And if you don't have information back from the coaches, you don't have a quote.
I don't make up quotes.
Right. So it's one of those situations where like I can go pull, these kids and put who's the possible returners and who's this and who's that, but the quotes give it context. It gives it, grit, gives it something to kind of hang it all on. So that's, I mean, just from my opinion, that's one of the
and
parts
I
I really like reading.
and just finally on it, I learn, and I'm going to try. I always try to tell some of these stories, but I learned so many stories, and I know we don't cheer for anyone. The only time I cheer is when Florida goes against other states, but I learned stories about kids that make you want to cheer for them, if and stuff you wouldn't know if you watched them every weekend. Even if you were at every tournament, you may not know these things about them, and I get to learn those things, and I get kind of those deeper investments into the sport and into some of these kids, and it just enhances, I think, my viewing of it. And hopefully I'll have time to tell some of those stories this year.
Very cool. All
Well,
right, so let's jump
help
into
me.
3A.
We're going
Tell me
3A
all the
first.
places I'm wrong.
I'm sorry.
We're going
So let's talk
3A
about all the
first.
places I'm wrong.
So one of the things I like to look at in 3A is we had, to begin the postseason last year, we had about 1,450 wrestlers over 131 teams. That means about 11 wrestlers. But the thing that stood out as I was kind of running through some of the numbers was that we only graduated 3 champs,
Yeah.
right? We've got a lot of champs coming back. We had 3 freshmen who won a state title in Class 3A. And obviously, you can't talk about 3A without talking about Region 4.
Oh
I
my
mean,
goodness. It got
re-
harder this year.
it's crazy to me. If you look at, actually, I counted up all the seniors, right? And Region 1 had a little 50%. Region 2 had a little more than 50%. Region 3 had 55%. Region 4, which dominated, only had 40% of their kids
Yeah.
were seniors last year. So what we take away from that, Brent, is that we should see 3A Region 4 at the very top of your dual and IBT team rankings. Is that true?
They're very much up there. Listen, South Day, it always has young kids coming in. That's not going to change this year. Southwest Miami, uh, a good. They've got 8 starters back. They've got young kids that are going to step in, and then you have Southridge. 12 starters could have come back. One of them went to play at Ole Miss. So 11 guys who started the postseason could be back for Southridge. They were underclassmen, and they've got freshmen coming in there that have been Miami Wrestle Club. Miami Palmetto has 11 starters coming back. They've got a state champ in the room and a brother who could be a state champ. Those are 4 teams. Then you get Coral Reef, who's developing a good program that bring 8 back. Ferguson brings 8 back. Coral Gables brings 8 back. Braddock brings 10. I mean, just so much, and it's just gotten tougher. And that's just 16. That's not even talking about Columbus. That's not talking
Right.
about Douglas. That's not talking about South Plantation or South Brown. I mean, it's insane. You could finish 6th in the region and be a state placer, but you won't get to go. You could
Right.
you could be in the round before the blood round and you could place and you won't get a chance to go. I mean, that's what happened last year to one of the Kirilenkos at South Broward. His draw was against the number 3 guy in the state and a number 5 guy finisher in the state, and he didn't go
Yeah.
to the state. I mean,
Yeah.
it is unbelievably difficult. And talking to the coaches there, they know it, and they know that if they get through that region, uh, that place on the podium is almost expected.
Yeah. So Dan, give us Brant's district champs for 13, 14, 15, and 16. Do you have that up?
For 13, 14, 15, and 16.
Yeah, the state champ, the I'm sorry, the district champs, team district champs.
I do. His prediction you're talking about.
Yes.
3A 13, he's got Douglas. 3A 14, he's got South Plantation, which we've spoke about a little bit, and South Broward, which we spoke about. Wow, that's going to be interesting, those 2 teams.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be fun to watch. 15, Columbus. He's got Columbus on top, Doral, Miami Beach. Wow, that's fun. That's going to be a fun one. And 3A 16. Wow. Yeah. Well, if you don't know, now you know. South Dade, Southridge, Southwest Miami, Miami Palmetto, Homestead. Woo! But he's got South Dade up at the top there. I think I think you got to keep them there until they get beat, right? I mean, to be the champ, you got to beat the champ. So I think you got to predict that they're going to be number 1 until Southridge or Miami or Palmetto can find a way to decrown them, right?
Now on the predictions, that's IBT
IBT.
predictions,
I am
right?
going to. I have not done it yet because my body eventually makes me sleep. But I do want to. I am planning to put together a mock bracket where I'm going to pick the champs and runners up for every South and state duels.
For state duels. Okay.
But that's still
Yeah,
coming.
because as I'm looking at the dual rankings versus the IBT rankings, and again, it's one of those situations where in the duels, it's super interesting because you've got South Dade at 1, you got Southwest at 2, you got Columbus at 3, you got Southridge at 5. But we're not gonna see one of those teams at the state duels.
We're
So
not going to see a couple of those teams. Yeah, and they're all deep. I mean, all those teams that you mentioned from 15 and 16, as I said, they've all got double-digit returners. They've got young guys that could have started last year, but were behind state champs and state placers. All of those teams that you mentioned are so deep. And I will admit I didn't go in and break down head head to head between each one.
yeah,
It's based on an overall look at numbers they have back and the talent in those numbers. But I mean, any of those teams other than South Dade could be the team that South Dade plays in the region semis to
No.
so where
go to.
What
go
makes
ahead.
you when I look at a team dual rankings and I look at your team IBT rankings, now
Yes,
here you got the same person on top. I know we're on 3A. There's some A's that you don't have the same person on top.
yes.
What goes into that thought process? Like, why would one team be your top IBT pick, but maybe be number 3 on your dual or vice versa?
Well, as you know, well, my IBT rankings are based on state, how I think you'll place at the state tournament,
Right.
because that's what matters, right? And there are teams that are going to be ranked that have in like 1A that have maybe 3 guys on the team, but 2 of them are one's a state champ, one's a state placer. You're automatically going to be, if you get that, you're probably top 20 already.
Right.
So
I mean,
IBT,
that could be 40 points right there.
yeah. So IBT is based on how I feel, how my numbers are computed. I don't feel anything on IBT. It's all computerized, but that's based on how many points I predict.
He feels
I
nothing. You hear
think
that, people?
I
Feels
feel
nothing.
that, especially on that. So you could have a team that has 7 or 8 guys in 3A that are going to do really well at the IBT, but in a duel, you've got 3, 4, 5 forfeits or easier wins that plays a part. I mean, especially when you get to that high level, if you've got 2 spots that are empty and the other team has 0 spots, that's 12 points.
Yeah, matchups matter, right?
12-point swing both ways.
Right.
So that's how I look at it. I look for depth. I look for, once the season starts, it'll be based almost like college football rankings, where it'll change. Like if you beat someone, then you move up. But for preseason rankings, it's based on the numbers of guys you have that I feel can
Will
win
score
duels.
points. Will score points at the IBT. Cool. And I
Yeah.
want to ask
So
a question, not specifically for me, but I'm more for
yeah,
our.
yeah,
Yes. No,
for the group.
absolutely.
Well, and actually I want to bring this up
And
because
if you look at my girls duels rankings, you'll see girls teams there that aren't in IBT, but they've got 12 girls that wrestle, and that
right.
goes a long way in the girls side.
One of the things that so I did rankings for a long, long time. I still kind of do a lot of stuff as it relates to it and everything else. And one of the things that I think for the average person who doesn't quite understand is, you go to an event early in the year and you don't have your football players out or you don't
Yeah.
have this out and the team finishes 10th because you're trying to get kids mat time and and this kid is a little banged up, so you're going to hold him out until this big event coming up in a week, and it's not that big of a deal. And you'll get it. We
Yeah.
will get texts
I
or
do.
we'll get
Yes.
emails that say, "Hey, we just beat them at this tournament. They finished 10th. They're not that good of a team." Just, everybody take a big deep breath,
Yeah.
okay?
Well, my
Because
email is usually thanks for reaching out, but 6 starters to wrestle. And then
right,
we move on.
exactly. So just take a big deep breath. It'll all play out. It's not as if you're just kind of pulling it out of the back of your pocket and like kind of throwing it down. This is something that's been tracked over a long period of time to try to understand who are the best teams when it matters. And I'm not saying that week 1 doesn't matter, but it matters far less than it does
Well, we
at the
saw it.
end of
I
the year.
think we saw it last year in 2A early in the season. Somerset wasn't at full strength and had an early tournament.
Right.
They got beat, and people were like, "Woo!" And then fast forward, look what Somerset did at the end. So
Right, but I bet you money if you talk to Danny Walker and you talk to David Mason, Sal Basil, and all them, they knew. They're not the ones who are telling you. They're like,
Yeah.
yeah, they're missing this group.
right, yeah, those
They know.
right,
Oh,
right.
they know. They know better than I do. Real
That's
quick,
right.
before we move on 3A, I want to just talk about two um,
Yep.
district races that stuck out to me as interesting. And
Good.
one is 3A9,
Yep.
Harmony and Freedom. I think Harmony has a couple spots to fill. Freedom
With
has a lot of
Osceola in third.
experience coming back, and Osceola in third. And 3A12, Wellington has kind of had an edge over Olympic Heights. They've had some close battles. Wellington, probably as young a team as they've had in recent years. I do believe when the season ends, you're going to see them bring a lot of people to Kissimmee, and the new wrestlers, if you will, in the lineup will get better. But Olympic Heights has a lot of depth coming back. Now, it'll be
Yeah,
interesting to
they
watch,
do.
especially in the state duels series where they meet on December 4th in their state duels competition to see
Super
who wins the
early.
district. Yes.
Super early. One of the other things I wanted to make sure that we touched on was that Region 2 had one champ last year with Raymond Shaw. Region 3 had Nathan Lytle, who won a state title. Region 1 did not have a state title, but had four state qualifiers and a few placers who were freshmen. So, that bodes well for that group. Knocking Region 4 off of the pedestal and getting more state champions and everything else is a tough road. Haggerty brings back a lot of talent up in what,
Yes.
Region 4?
They're in
No,
District
Region
3,
3.
Region 1.
Buchholz has got a good squad up in Region 2 or in District 2. Sorry, keep saying region when I mean district. Um, but it's going to be really interesting to kind of see how the other regions play out, because one of the things that we noticed was that quite a few seniors graduated,
Yes.
state qualifiers graduated. That means that's going to be filled in with some new faces. And I always love to see new faces kind of step in and kind of make their own run.
And that District 3 you were talking about, that Haggerty is in, I mean, that those
Yep.
top one, two, three, four teams, Lake Brantley, Oviedo, Timber Creek, Haggerty, they're always got something to say. I mean,
Timber Creek will
they're
be
tough.
the one to kind of keep an eye on. They graduated, I think, 11.
Yeah, they graduated a
They
lot.
graduated just an incredible senior class. Let's see,
Right.
they graduated. Yeah, 11 of their 14 graduated. Lucas Gama took over. He's assistant coach there for a long time. John Cohn taking a step back, well earned,
Absolutely.
lesser responsibilities, but
That explains it.
they've got 70, 80 kids in the room. They'll still have 14, in the postseason, but that's 11 spots that they're going to be filling in
That
this year.
explains it. I didn't know there was a coaching change there.
You
Yeah.
should have looked at my site. That was actually one of the first
I
ones of
know
the
you didn't
summer.
read it.
No, I saw
I'm kidding.
I see John at Publix all the time, but I didn't know but that explains it because he usually reaches out right away and sets up a media day. And
Yeah,
this
he's still involved in a team, and
this
he's
year, Timber Creek has not set one up.
yeah.
So
So, before we move on to 3A, is there from 3A, was there one quote in 3A that
Oh,
stood out
I
to you?
didn't look. I didn't
You
get a
didn't
chance to
look?
look this up.
Okay, all right, we move on.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move to 2A. And 2A, just so everybody has an idea, had 1,415 wrestlers who began their trek to a state title. That means that they competed at the district level, almost 11 wrestlers per team. Obviously, we have teams that have a full slate of
Yes.
kids, 14, but there are programs that, you can't find a 6 pounder for, or your 44 went down hurt, or something happened, and that's why we have fewer than that. But 2A was way different than 3A, whereas we have a lot of wrestlers coming back in 3A, a lot of state champions
State
coming back
champs.
in
Yeah.
3A. 2A, 10 of the 14 state champs are gone.
Yes.
So that means we've got
And there are
two
a fair number of
freshmen.
finalists that were seniors too that are
Yeah,
gone.
a lot of finalists. So we have two freshmen and two juniors who could return: Jake Austin, RJ Phelan, Tristan Sains, and Mateo Martinez. But I'll tell you what, this 2A was a group of teams that were, I mean, I'm not saying decimated, but they graduated a lot of their firepower. Does that make it more difficult when coming up with the predictions and the rankings and things like that?
Well, it is when they don't reach out to you, but I still got you, Walker. Um, yeah,
Oh,
I mean,
I'll see
just
him
looking.
Friday if you want me to have him reach out to you.
No, he has.
Oh,
I found out a transfer this morning or yesterday, and I asked him, and he's like, "Oh, I was trying to hide that." But I mean, Lake Gibson graduated 7, Tampa Jesuit graduated 5, going down to Somerset, last year's state champ in 2A. They graduated 4. Um, so there's spots that will be changed. There's some teams on the way up. The other one we should look at is Charlotte, and they had 4 seniors on there. Um, on their final roster last year. So the top guys, that opens up a space. 2A is the deepest. I think it's always the deepest and most competitive. Um, so there's already guys lining up. I mean, some of these weight classes in 2A are just fantastic, and with who's going to
Yeah.
battle for them. And you get Digger Goalie has moved up to 2A, one of the state champs from 1A that you'll list. He's at Naples now. So I was able to figure all the stuff out, I think. Um, but it's such an exciting weight class that I don't think you ever really know what's going to happen into it. You just have to watch it.
on
Yeah.
that region 4, I see, man, 5 state champs, 3 seniors, 2 juniors, all coming back. Is that what you're saying? On the
No, five state champs
3 were seniors, so
were
2
in
are
Region
back.
4. 3 were seniors, only 2 returned.
Yeah.
got it.
But, one of the things that happened down in that neck of the woods in Region 4 was that you didn't just have underclassmen competing. You had state
Yep.
placers
Yeah.
that were 7th graders and 8th graders, Kano Austin and Lucas Barrios and Carlos Sainz, those are all kids who made the podium and they're not even in high
Yeah.
school yet.
That's your
So,
Somerset, Matter Academy. I don't know if Archbishop probably does 7 to 12, but yeah, there's some schools there that get them going young.
so one of the things that stands out to me that as we were looking at it was that this is a classification, Dan, that you brought up that earlier that there's a different IBT team at the top than a dual team at the top.
Right. Yeah, I saw that. I say on the team dual rankings, Kabra Wrestling has Lake Gibson 1 and Somerset 2 and
In
Jesuit
the
3.
duels. Yeah.
And then on the duals. And then on the IBT, he's got Somerset Academy, Lake Gibson, and Tampa Jesuit. So obviously you're pretty solid that you believe Tampa Jesuit is 3, and you've got Somerset and Lake Gibson swapping at the 1 and 2 spot. Uh,
Listen, that's a coin flip. It really
tell
is.
us your thoughts.
It's a coin flip, and maybe a nudge, just getting a chance to talk to Joe and know what's at Lake. I mean, that's a coin flip. If you look at my numbers that come out on that one, I think there's 1 point separating them in the IBT. My dual calculations, they're both like right there. Um,
Well, and to be honest,
I have 10 placers for each one right now in my rankings. Well, now 11 for Lake Gibson.
well,
Just
last week we
everything
mentioned
looks,
3 kids, right, on the show in Reed
yeah.
Yanks, KJ Vasquez, and Mason Basil. If those 3
And those,
can
that's a
can break through and get the state title that's been elusive, right?
Yeah, and the thing with Tampa Jesuit is I did not hear back from them, so I don't know about youth coming up. In my rankings, I have 6 placers in their lineup. I have 7 in Charlotte's lineup, 6 in Middleburg. So if they have some of their young guys that come in that I either don't know about or step up this year, then. But
Unfortunately,
right now, Lake Gibson and Somerset are at 10. So
they had a death in the coaching family, and
yes.
they've been dealing with that. And he was one of the youth coaches, but he was also
Hmm.
Coach Mason's mentor growing up and coach
Hmm.
growing up. So I know their head has been kind of tied up there. So our thoughts and prayers go out to that. But
Yes.
yeah, I'm sure.
And I'm not complaining about them. I'm just saying I
No,
don't
no.
know their youth coming in, but I do know what Lake Gibson and Somerset have, and they're both. And on the dual level, it's even tighter, and that's gonna be a fun weekend.
The one thing that I was looking at that stood out to me, and as I was looking down the top 10, was how high Middleburg has climbed. Just, I mean, a really good program, you know, putting together just solid kids up and
Yep.
down the lineup and everything else. They sit in that district too with Lincoln, who, you know, Crowder always brings a really good
Hmm.
squad. Um, you know, you look over at three with Clay, and then four you got New Smyrna Beach and Winter Springs, and then out in the Panhandle you got Pace and Gulf Breeze. You know, Region One could be a lot of fun. Middleburg, I guess, based upon your rankings, has to be thought of as being the favorites, but there's a lot of really good teams in Region
There
One.
are. We'll start Middlebrook first. Out of their 14 in their lineup last year, 12 are back. They have Gavin Fisher back. He was injured last year. He was 30-2 when he went down. Joseph Sneed came over from Ridgeville, which gives them a little more help in the lower weight, the lighter weights. Um, this is a loaded team, and they've just looking at what they have coming back, three guys that made the blood round along with two state placers and a couple state qualifiers. If those guys that qualified for state get back on the podium or get on the podium, the blood round gets through to state. I mean, they've got the depth. As you said, Lincoln is tough in your own district. Pace, everybody's telling me Pace, watch out for them in the state duels. They're loaded. They've had a big offseason. We know what's going on at Gulf Breeze, but Middleburg, they've been building for this. They finally got their district title last year. Um, this is year 5 for Cole Robertson being the head man. This is his second group of seniors that he's brought up. They've been kind of built for this year, and I think they have something special in
But
them.
not just as an entire program. I know we're not on girls right now, but as an entire program, I
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Middleburg, the boys and the girls team have been steadily, if you've been following Kabra, steadily moving up the ladder, and they're both are poised to have a great
Yep.
season.
And the
Yeah.
girls, I think, are deeper this year, even with losing Cheyenne, um, 2-time state champion, 3-time state placer, I believe, 4-time state placer. They've got some freshmen coming in that are already showing how high they'll be. So Middleburg girls will be good too.
So Dan, when you were looking across the predictions, I mean, I pointed out Middleburg and that district two and that region one. Was there a district that kind of you looked at and said, "Ooh, man, that one's going to be fun to watch"?
Well, I mean, I think when you look at, Archbishop McCarthy now over in 2A15, and then I mean, obviously 16 is the one to watch, right? But I mean, yeah, I would say 15 looked interesting to me as far as
Yeah, I
looking.
mean, McCarthy's been another program kind of
Yeah,
like Middleburg, seems to be getting better and better and better and better.
right. And to see them starting to grow and the kids they're getting and the coach, what he's doing there has been phenomenal. But also when I looked at the dual rankings and the IBT rankings, steadily you've seen like Gulf Breeze on both sides. Each year over the last 3 years, you've seen Cabra kind of moving up the ladder, getting closer. And, we saw in predictions when we were going through individual stuff that they have a few guys that if they can
They
break
need to
through
find some
the
big
ceiling.
guys. If they can get
Yeah,
some guys above 52, um,
because down low they're tough.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, so that's a team there. And and New Smyrna Beach, with the addition of the two brothers, I believe I heard the two brothers have moved over
I
there
guess it's
from
50 now, but showing
from
my
uh,
age.
You show your
the
age.
Space Coast. They're tough kids, and I think, yeah.
Yeah, I was looking at the just real quick as we wrap up 2A. I was looking down at the rankings, and I mean, you got the Cat Somerset, which is a 4 in the top 10, and you got McCarthy's a 4 in the top 10. And I say a 4, a Region 4 team. You got Gibson, who's a Region 2, Jesuit, who's Region 2, Middleburg's up at Region 1, Charlotte's Region 3, Winter Springs up in Region 1. You got Springstead, Jensen Beach is a Region 4, North Fort Myers. So it seems as if it's pretty well distributed. Unlike in 3A, and that's not to say anything about one and regions 1, 2, and 3, but it feels like in 2A, it's pretty much across the state.
Right.
Yeah.
Obviously, when you get to the regional tournaments, then 2A2 is obviously, where all eyes will be, right?
Well, I mean, you
Actually,
throw Lake
if
Gibson
you're
and Jesuit there, but as
that's
far as
it.
depth goes,
If you're
man, I
looking
think
at this, I'm trying to
Yeah.
find the next team. Well, Springstead at nine's a two. Um,
I mean, 2A4,
Brandon at
2A4 is,
18.
I'm
I
interested to see Mater Academy
Region
this
One.
year. I really, really am interested to see what Mater Academy does this year. They have some young kids there. They have some kids that have come in, and they have some juniors and seniors that have been there a while. And I'm I know you've got them at 14 on the duels, and you've got them at
11 on
11
IBT,
IBT, but
and I know how to call matter.
it's
Matter. It
matters.
doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter, co-mater. Um, but yeah, I'm interested to see what they
Yeah,
do. I mean, they have some kids that if
if it clicks.
right, then they could go real quick from 11
Yep.
to the top five,
All right, so let's move to
in my
1A.
humble
And
opinion.
I love 1A because if you're looking for the next stars in the sport, like typically the youth movement, you see the youth movement happen in 1A simply because you have kids who will go to a 1A school. I mean, obviously there's some 2A schools in that that's the case with Somerset and so on and so forth, which used to be a 1A team. But traditionally, right, you could go to a 1A school, compete in sixth grade, compete in seventh grade, compete in eighth grade, and then they move on to maybe a bigger school for their high school years. And five of the 14 state champs from a year ago were seniors. But man, I'll tell you what, you had a little seventh grader taking a state title down there in the Miami area. And then you had two freshmen and Keegan Messina and Timmy Boda. Um, this is a classification that had fewer seniors graduate, probably because of what I was just saying. The population of the
1A tends to
field
be
was much
younger. Yeah.
younger. Um, so, it's going to be really interesting to see how 1A plays out. And I think the single biggest thing that stood out to me when we were prepping this show was the fact that Matter Lakes, wasn't number one in both duels and IBT.
They were not.
Yeah.
Who who takes over in duels and why? Why?
Yeah, I was wow.
um, again, it's a coin flip. Cocoa Beach had 12 wrestlers on their postseason lineup. They returned 11 of them because one moved to Georgia. They've brought in kids. Don't know if, how many people are aware, but Cocoa High School program, I'm told it's still there, but they kind of dispersed. They picked up Aaron Poor, Cole Webb from there. Just 2 weeks ago, Gustavo Ferreira came over from Vieira.
Oh, wow,
They've got
really?
seventh graders, younger brothers of wrestlers, Braden Aquafreda, Ivan Eder, Christian Day, all seventh grade, ready to kind of add some depth. So if you have someone out, you've got people to fill in. Uh, but they bring back virtually everybody from last year's team. If they find a 285 in any of that, they'll be tough at all the weight classes. Matter Lakes is a great team. They had 5 seniors last year.
They did.
Um, I don't know. It's they've got a lot of young kids coming in there. They've got a lot of. So if you look at it head to head, it maybe it plays out different. But from a first look, a, a, a macro look, Cocoa Beach is going to have guys that can wrestle really well, at least 13 weights, maybe 14. Matter Lakes Academy, 12 or 13, probably, maybe. Yeah. So it's really dicey, but I went with the more experience and then the high level transfers that came in and just kind of give them that depth to be able to move guys around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The I don't think I see them in your
Uh,
I don't think I see him in any dual rankings or IBT rankings, but when I look over at District 1A 15 and I see Slam Miami sitting there at 2,
Hmm.
they've had some movement and they've had some kids come in. And I think if those kids do what do what they're supposed to do, I think we're going to see them jump into your team rankings
Yeah, it would be nice for them to
pretty
reach out and tell
quick.
me that then. I don't have anything on Slam Miami. I've never had anything on Slam Miami, despite
Um,
even reaching out to coaches that work with them.
yeah,
They do have
so
they have
if you don't
Jason
know, now
Ramirez
you
coming
know.
back, who's a state finalist. They've got at least what I know, 5 or 6 region qualifiers back. If they've got some other kids in there, I'd love to know. I just got an email on some crazy stuff happening on the girl side, which I can't discuss yet, but um, so maybe they do have folks that are there that weren't computed in. I'd love to know who that is.
Well, and to be fair, I mean, down in Region 4, there weren't a lot of seniors that graduated, just
Yeah.
35%. You know, you have 6 returning state champs from last year with Mako, Messina, Nazario, Tran, another Messina, Castanon. That's that group. So it's going to be really interesting to see how to fit into and kind of make a mark within Region 4, because there's not as many spaces open for
Yeah.
kind of new faces down in Region 4. Um, all right. So
Oh,
as we look, one of the things that I wanted to bring up was that it kind of feel I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but it kind of feels like St. John Newman can push either of those two teams, in my opinion.
The main thing there is maybe a couple spots, but most of their guys came back. They've got some guys that are going to win some state titles. Um, they're right there. I have them 3 in IBT, 4 in duels. They get motor over there. Uh, the
Yeah,
duel that the duels is probably just they might be 1 or 2 weight classes short of
away.
having a
Yeah.
top guy, but I mean, we saw what they can do last year in the duels. Certainly there. And I mean, if you're a top 5, 6 duel team right now, um, you are you're in the mix to be a state champ. That's how it plays out over the time, and they could be in the IBT race. You've got Lincoln is going to probably be a favorite for a state title this year. Motor, we've talked about him. We talked about him on the last week's show. Is a favorite for a state title. Benito Barnhart was so close last year in the finals. And then Eric Perez, state placer, he moves up. McGowan, he was a state placer. If he moves up, then you start getting the points. I think they're in the mix for it
So
this year.
so when I was so just real quick, and I don't need to hog the conversation, but when last year at this time, it felt to me that you kind of knew who you thought was going to win 3A, and you kind of felt like you knew how 1A was going to play out, and you kind of felt like you had a pretty good sense of the girls. And 2A was the one classification that kind of sat there and you're like, I just don't know what's going to happen. And I'll tell you right now, I sit here at the beginning of the season and 3A, it's still South Dade, but there's a
Mhm.
lot of competition down there. There's change that's happened. 2A is still chaos, in my opinion.
It is. 1A
1A
is getting closer to
one
chaos.
A is it is, and there are some really good programs right in there and right in the mix that could happen. And the girls, given the number of state champs and the different things that have changed in the girls, we're about to talk about them.
Yes.
It's changed a bunch too. So I don't know that today I feel nearly as confident as I felt
Yeah.
a year
I
ago.
mean, you look at his top, I don't know, 6 teams in both the IBT and the duels, and if at the end of the season any 3 of those teams are on the podium, we'd all be like, okay, that
Yeah,
makes
that
Yeah,
makes
sense.
sense.
I
exactly.
mean, they just look great. I mean, and I know we're talking about 1A, obviously, Region 2 is just become, I think the new one of the new what do they used to call it, the region of doom or whatever. That
Yeah.
region is absolutely loaded now. uh
Oh, and it's driven by District 8, I think, probably,
Yeah, I
right?
mean it's
you know
actually here in my home county where a lot of it's happening. Cocoa Beach, Merritt Island. Um,
And I mean,
Home
Let's
it's,
base,
look at
base
I
some of
mean,
the
base,
other
all
ones.
all they're all good.
yeah, I mean, there's 3 or 4 teams in there that
I mean, as I'm looking at this, look out for 1A1 too. Um, they may not have the big teams at the top, but you've got North Bay Haven, Wakulla, Florida High. You've got some top kids at St. John's Country Day. You've got a couple good guys at Bulls. Swanee is kind of in a reset, but they're always in the mix.
and
Uh,
there is an example of your scoring, right? St.
yes,
John's Country Day probably has a
they've got a
few
handful
kids
of
there
kids.
that could just make deep, deep runs on the IBT side, but
There's
Yes,
a kid who could win a state title.
but they're
yeah,
but they're nowhere to be found on the team dual rankings because of the depth, right?
Yeah.
yes.
Right.
Yeah, you
So
you've
there's
you've
a
got
team.
you've got Colt Hill there. You've got Roman Ortez came over just for some of the depth guys, and then you've got Bryce Fiore, who is number one in the rankings and in my rankings, and I would say a favorite to win a state title. Those three guys, if they wrestle as well as they're capable of, that's three guys at
Yeah.
Kissimmee, one on top of the podium, one or
And
two others on the podium.
if any of you don't know, if you got a little joker by the name of Bryce Fiore who can go with Keegan Bassett, 0-0 in the second period at Elite Eight. Um, if you're in 1A and you don't know that name, you should because
You got to see him
he's
up close and personal.
oh man, he was super impressive. He was super impressive. I was very impressed with him. I was very impressed with several different kids at that event, and he's one obviously because he's so young. You don't really know. I mean, people talk about the young kids and coming up and how good they are and everything else. Going out and wrestling Keegan Bassett and giving Keegan Bassett a match, man, that just I don't care if you lose it or not. That gives me all the information I need to know.
Yeah,
So,
and that's awesome. Yeah, and I remember you talking about it. But going back to District 1A1, like you said, yeah, I mean that's North Bay Haven has slowly built something there. I'll
yeah,
be
they
able to
have.
see them,
This is
but
their
you've got
year
a
at North
team
Bay
at
Haven.
Bay.
Talk about a 4-year plan.
Yeah,
This
you've got
is
a
the year
team
to see
at
if that
Bay
thing
that's at
works.
7, and Bay has some kids that if they do what they want to do, that could go from 7 to 3 real quick. I mean, uh, so yeah, any of those teams there. But
Well,
yes,
and I'm going to be honest with you.
South
Like, I
Walton,
mean, the
South Walton's
del
doing a great job.
the development in the Panhandle has gotten so much better
Mhm.
than it was years ago. I mean, again, from a historical perspective, it was, Crowder at Lincoln, you had Wakulla and Swanee up there,
And they're in the
and
curve, so they're
in
not
the
even
curve,
panhandle
yeah,
necessarily.
but not way out. And you've
Yeah.
got Pace, you got North Bay Haven, you've got Gulf Breeze, you've got teams now that, and you'd have an individual. You'd have an individual from
Yeah.
Mariana, or you'd have an individual from Fort Walton Beach, or
South
whatever.
Walton's had a couple.
That's
Yeah.
right. But now you've got some teams that actually can come down and really compete, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
I
Well,
agree.
and I think you're seeing, there's a few clubs up there from Blackwell's club to Estrada's club to there's a little MMA club that started doing wrestling up there a little bit that I'll get to go visit while I'm up there and check them out. And then, of course, the local high schools have their clubs with Bay and North Bay Haven and all those other ones. So you're starting to see the clubs bringing the youth up, and then you're starting to see the clubs help develop the older kids, and then you're starting to see those high schools get a hold of them, and we're seeing.
And Jason would know about this more than I would, but then they're getting to be better by wrestling Louisiana and
hmm
some Georgia teams there and some Southern Alabama teams and such.
Well, I mean, and I'll be honest with you. So again, you guys may not know this, but I posted a picture on my Facebook page of the Gulf Coast Clash, which is in what they call LA here in Alabama, lower Alabama. And in 2019, there weren't programs in lower Alabama. Like you didn't go
Yeah.
further south than say Montgomery in the state of Alabama. It was there wasn't many programs in Mississippi and everything else. And that contributed to not getting the level of competition. You'd have to, if you were at Pace, you had to travel
Hmm.
quite a distance to be able to get some competitions. Now, because you've got this large number of programs that have now developed in Mississippi and in lower Alabama and in Southwest Georgia, and Louisiana's not that far away. It actually is helping everybody up in that region get
Yeah.
better and better and better. So, I mean, it's amazing to me. You did not have a wrestling program in the state of Alabama below like Montgomery or whatever the case was until 2019. So, I mean, that makes a big deal. So, all right. So moving on to the girls, the great debate of 2025, 2026 has got to be at the top of the podium here. And again, duels. Brand has Freedom at 1, South Dade at 2. In IBT, he's got South Dade 1 and Freedom 2. Sun Lake is over in IBT, Vieira over in duels. We see this big difference between the two different top 25 teams and that sort of thing. Man, I'll tell you what, if you could tell me today who's going to win in girls, I I would be really, really surprised.
Listen, every year there's been a new girls title, but every year I could have told you before the season that if you were to place some illegal wagering, I could have
Right,
told you
on kids, which we would never
which
do.
we would never do. But I could have told you who was going to win the state title in the girls' side, and every year I would have been right. I don't know that I have that answer this year. It's been crazy how it's gone. Orlando Freedom, Matanzas, Hernando, Flagler, Palm Coast, and now do we have South Dade become the fifth? Do we have Orlando Freedom be the first repeat? Do we have Sun Lake kind of surprise both of them? I think South Dade and Orlando Freedom are the teams to watch now, and also St. John Newman um, picked up. They became a very good girls team. The thing that sticks out to me though about South Dade and Freedom is, and this is so key on the girls side. And last year the girls title was run by a team that only had 7 girls, but they were all champions or a lot of
Not
or
all, but yes, so
champion
many.
quality.
Yeah,
And they won, a couple of them won, and they had finalists and they had third placers. This year you have two teams that could put 14 girls out on the mat.
that's right.
Like 14 good wrestlers, both of them at every single weight class could have someone who is a state qualifier uh, wrestling. And that is what makes the girls race to me the most intriguing, because you can't just look and say, oh, well, Flagler's going to score so many points, you won't be able to catch him. Hernando's got 12 girls that are, you have two teams, South Aid and Freedom, that I think could score points at all 14 weights. And then
Yeah,
it becomes what happens after that. And they're going to see each other a lot. I mean, they're going to see each other at Freedom in December, which I'll be at. They may be both at Flagler in a couple of weeks. I mean, we're going to have a better idea of where they are. But South Dade has been building. I feel like last year was kind of their kind of like that transition year, because they went to state and they had success. In years before, they brought girls up who were talented, but maybe they were still trying, getting used to the lights. They're now at that level to where you can expect them to perform as well as they're supposed to perform. Uh, they've figured out that South Dade thing the boys use, and Freedom. They know how to compete in those moments. So
My biggest surprise here is I don't see Harmony on the IBT side rankings, not anywhere. I see them on the girls' duels, it's number 7. And I feel like that's a team that McNichols has been building
it
little
is
by
a it
little
is a very deep team.
and
You're
very
you're
deep.
right.
And I feel like, if the girls that are supposed to do well, and then some of those younger girls step up, I think that's a team quietly that could move up.
Well, let me tell you why they're not ranked in IBT, and it has nothing to do against them, but it's based on what's happened to this point. And when I look at their roster, they have 3 state qualifiers back who did not place, and if you're not placing at state,
No
you're
points.
not going to get ranked in their girls race, because there are at least 5 teams that are going to have at least a girls state champion. That's 25 to 30 points.
Right.
So that's what happened there. But they're number 7 in duels because they are loaded with talented girls across the weight classes. They are doing the right stuff there. And if the girls like Kylie Vincent and Caitlin Holt and Zuhaili Caffrey and if they're able to get onto the podium, and Bella Wall gets past the blood round, and Aubrey McNichols, who has the talent to get past the blood round, then we start talking. But based on this snapshot in the of the year, they don't have the points to be on the IBT. But if we had a girls duels, uh, state group duels, which would be great, they would be,
Yeah. So
in the
Which makes
final
sense on
couple
a lot of
rounds.
these teams. Like there's another team two spots down in George Jenkins who they didn't have any places last year. They've
Yes,
got a pretty deep team. They've got some athletic girls coming in as we talked about, and that's why they're not on the IBT side. But yeah, Sun Lake,
you
like you
can still
mentioned,
place top 25 girls with a single wrestler,
that's Sun
and
Lake,
that'll
that is right.
continue to change,
Middleburg.
but that's still true for now.
Yeah, Sun
Well,
Lake, Middleburg,
and I
St.
think all you have to do is look at the returning state champions, right? Abby Gonzalez, Southridge, right? Caceres, Lincoln, Camden Elliott, Gulf Breeze, Eiley Briggs, Lemon
Lemon
Bay.
Bay.
You've got Jocelyn Johnson who won it 2 years ago, Flagler Palm Coast. Those teams aren't necessarily the deepest teams. The one individual who is a returning champ who has a team is Willow White,
Hmm.
and that is, at South Dade. And I'll tell you what, it's going to be really interesting because there are a lot of openings at the top end, not necessarily in the state, because there were only 38% seniors last year. But at the top end,
Yeah.
you will crown a lot more state champions this year, and because there's so many that have graduated. And the question is, where do they come from? Because those are big points. Those are
Yeah.
big points on the girls' side.
I
If
mean,
you
look at the
get
IBT
St.
rankings.
John Newman
Forest,
girls
yeah,
who climb to the top, they'll vault way to the
yes,
top.
Right.
absolutely.
Hey,
Forest Hill, Lemon Bay, Miami Palmetto, Mosley, Western are ranked in the IBT based on they have a number one ranked girl.
Yep.
So I mean, that's
well,
as the sport develops, as these teams get better. Every coach I talk to, like, had 4 last year. I've got 8 this year. I had 10 last year. I've got 15 this year. It's growing, but when you get to the state tournament, as far as depth in teams, there's still a lot of teams that have 1 or 2 girls there,
and
and
which
that
is which
plays
is
into
why Florida Christian is 5 on the IBT, but not located anywhere on the
on the
duels
duels.
because
Yeah, you got it.
they have 3 girls that may win the whole thing, but
Yes, but you need more than 3
you need
in a duel.
14.
And there's no. I do the girls' duels rankings because um,
Oh,
I
you
want
should.
to, and I should. But
Yeah,
unfortunately, we don't crown a girls' duels champ yet.
not yet.
Um, well,
I
I
hopefully
mean,
tell
that
you
God,
what,
comes.
it took
everywhere
us
I
forever to
go,
get an
It took
IBT.
us 20
So,
some years to do team duels for boys,
everywhere,
but
everywhere I go, the topic of conversation is girls, and the depth and the talent in Florida right now is over the moon. And uh, especially, I mean, obviously we have a lot of great high school girls, but even going down where you look at like sixth to ninth graders, and we have a way.
well, I mean, you had a state runner-up who was what,
I
a
mean,
eighth
if
grader last year?
you don't remember the Fargo that you and I were at 3 years ago, where we had 5 Florida girls in the finals. Well, 7, but 2 of them were at Pennsylvania, but they're Florida girls. But on Team Florida, there was 5 of them, if you remember. And I think in the next couple of years, we're going to see a wave bigger than that through our state with these girls. And we're already starting to see the wave of girls, that wave of girls that went out there starting to do big things on the big stage, not just in D1, but also D2 and D3.
My biggest question as it relates to it is with all this talent, like I don't understand how some colleges in the state of Florida have not picked up women's wrestling. I'll
The,
be honest with you. I mean, you
no,
look at the number 2 ranked kid at 103 pounds, Val Sloria for Iowa. I mean, you looked at Amani Jones, who was a multiple time champ from the state of Georgia. They should have
Gabby
college programs for
Tedesco.
girls down in the state of Florida. There's no reason why that shouldn't be the
Well, yeah,
case.
and I've talked to some of our NAIA coaches before, and I said, man, could you, if one of you did that, could you imagine how good you would be? I mean, right off the rip. I mean,
Yeah,
you're starting to see, and look, I watched Lindsey Wilson's girls team this
right.
weekend go into the Adrian Open, and they are filled with
They
South,
had like 6 weight classes with Florida girls.
and it's unbelievable. He's what he's doing there. He's like, I'm not stupid. He's at everything. We see him everywhere in
We do.
Florida.
We do.
And could you imagine if that talent was at a Kaiser or at a St. Thomas or at uh,
So as we
SMU?
wrap this up, is there pick out one district, Brant, that kind of stood out to you for the girls? Because we did that for the boys.
Yeah, on the girls' side, sorry, I'm still getting like these crazy updates. The one that kind of stood out to me, if I'm really looking at it, probably is we talked a little bit about it, so I hate to bring it up again, but I think the Harmony Vieira um, race is interesting because Vieira graduated, a state champ and a state placer. They've got the numbers there too. I think the difference between them is just they have Kat Kenny and
Bless you.
she's a possible state champion. Um, that's probably an interesting one. I think 1A15 should be fun. I did not hear from Norland or Western, so I'm just basing it off what they had last year and they could have back. Matter Lakes is developing on the girls' side and are going to compete South Broward.
I like
is in that
District
mix.
3 with Middleburg and Bertram Trail and Oakleaf, who has Barrientos, and
Yes.
Anavidra has always had Rizzuto, and I can't say her Natalia's last name, but I mean we're talking about just always some really really good girls who come out
I
of that
like
district.
Yes.
1A16 is awesome. South Day, Doral Academy, Southwest Miami,
Yeah, Florida
Florida
Christian,
Christian. I mean, that is
North
Miami
Miami,
South
who
North
no
Ridge,
Miami,
longer has
even
Maya Bethel.
they did graduate a few,
Miami South
but
Ridge,
they're
Miami
always good with the
Palmetto.
girls. They have been for a long time.
Miami South Ridge has a girl that's pretty good.
They do.
And
They
All right.
but
Yes.
yeah, I like that. But Region 2 in the girls is the one that is interesting to me when it comes to I'm excited to see who makes it through those four districts and meets at the regional because it's going to be fun. There's some girls in there that could surprise some people.
And as we wrap up this week's show, which we probably went long on, we apologize,
Probably.
guys. Doing
Yeah, but
four
we could do 4 hours on this.
four classes and all this, we could probably talk a lot longer.
We could do
If
an
you
hour
are
on each one,
interested,
right? An hour
yeah,
on one hour.
if you're interested in a really deep dive, go check out Brant's previews. You could spend a lot of time there. I don't have quite that amount of time to be able to spend. You don't probably either,
I have
but
a couple of coaches write me. They're like, "Oh, I'm up to this one now." Like they're reading through the whole.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
But that's real quick, just
Yeah,
because if anybody's watching now, they like the intricacies. But I realize that most of the people that read this go to their team, and that might be
absolutely.
all they read. But that means for 700 teams, I need to make sure that's as good as it is, because even if there's just one person that goes there, that's
That's
the one
right.
they're going to go to. And if I have that wrong, then they'll think they're all wrong, or if it's not up on the same level.
I couldn't agree with you more. All right, guys. So, Girls Classic, is that this weekend or is that the next weekend? We still have a couple weeks, right?
Girls don't start until I think the first one I have on my calendar is on the 25th.
Is that the
Well,
Orlando?
you know what? We're going to be starting and kicking off here pretty soon. So,
Is
it's
that
going to be
Let Freedom
great.
Ring?
No, first weekend, November 25th. It's a Tuesday. You have the Flagler Rotary Invitational, which
Oh,
is packed again. Melbourne has the second annual Lady Bulldog Drumstick Duels, which I think is just cool
stick
that
duels.
there's duels and girls to kick off the
You should
season.
get a drumstick as your trophy.
5A has
Yes.
Queens of the Nest, and then that weekend after Thanksgiving on the 29th, Parish has Ladies of the Ring.
So I'm going to let everybody know that I have been doing write-ups for Georgia and Alabama and all of that. We talked about it at the very beginning. I'm going to add Florida to that when I get to when the season really kicks off. One of the things I do is I go through and I look at hammers, kids that I think are maybe overperformed. It's not necessarily the best kid, not necessarily whatever. They just wrestled really, really well. And I'm hoping that during this show weekly, I can call on you guys to give me a hammer of the week that you saw on the boys and the girls side that will kind of highlight a couple of names that you thought really wrestled really, really, really well.
Sounds good.
All
And
right.
I want to develop a thing at the end of the show where we steal from game day and we make picks for a couple tournaments every week.
All right.
Oh, I
Which
like
team
it.
which team we think's going to win, and we make our picks and See how
All right,
those
are you
go.
gonna get the little graphics that come up
I'm
at the
have a
bottom?
graphic, and I don't know if I'll have it live during, unless I might be able to do it live during the show.
All right.
But definitely, so we have graphics we can put on social media and pick them.
Be safe, Daniel, as you drive all over the place, taking your
Yes.
media shots.
Peace.
Peace out.